For months now, we've been told one thing by his team: on track, no setbacks, ahead of schedule, calm words, controlled words, the kind of words designed to keep everyone relaxed. But then you watch the footage, and the footage tells a completely different story. So today, we're going to lay out everything: the timeline, the statements, the footage, the ranking collapse, and the question that fans all over the tennis world are now asking out loud: is Carlos Alcaraz's team telling us the truth about this injury, or are they managing a story? Stick with us until the end, because what we found in the last few days changes the entire picture. Let's go all the way back to the start, because this is where the cracks first appear. Back in April, Alcaraz pulls out of a tournament, and the reason given is simple: a wrist issue. Nothing dramatic. His team calls it precautionary, a routine withdrawal to protect a young player's long-term health. Fans accept it immediately. Why wouldn't they? He's the best player in the world. Injuries happen. Nobody thinks twice. Then the clay season rolls forward, and he's still not competing. The explanation shifts slightly. Now it's not just precautionary, it's smart management, protecting the bigger picture. Reasonable enough on its own. Then the French Open comes and goes. Still no Alcaraz. Then Wimbledon, the tournament he has dominated, the surface that made him a legend before he was even old enough to legally rent a car in some countries, comes and goes too. And he's still not there. At this point, you'd expect the explanations to get more specific. Instead, they get vaguer, shorter, almost rehearsed. Every single update from the camp uses nearly identical language: measured, reassuring, careful, and that consistency is exactly what tipped fans off. Because real injuries evolve, the language around them usually changes as new information comes in. But this has sounded the same for months. Here's where things get interesting. When you go back through recent practice clips, the ones his team and sponsors have released, presumably to reassure everyone that he's close to returning, something doesn't line up with the narrative. Watch the grip. On his forehand side, the way he's holding the racket has visibly shifted compared to before the injury. This isn't a small stylistic tweak. Players don't randomly change grips they've used their entire career. When a grip shifts like this, it's almost always compensation, the body quietly protecting a joint that isn't fully trusted yet. Now watch the serve. The motion is shortened. The trophy position isn't as high. The follow-through cuts off early. Compare that to the free, explosive, whip-like service motion that made him one of the most dangerous servers under 24 anywhere on tour. And the difference is obvious even to a casual viewer. And then there's the movement. Watch how he plants on that side during defensive rallies. There's a hesitation, a half-step almost, right before he commits to a big lateral push. That hesitation wasn't there before April. None of this, on its own, proves anything definitively. Athletes protect their bodies during recovery. That's normal and even smart. But the question fans are asking is simple. If this is really the final stage of recovery, why does the body still look like it's guarding something? While all of this has been unfolding quietly behind closed doors, something very public has been happening in plain sight: the rankings. Every single week Alcaraz stays off tour. Somebody else moves up. Jannik Sinner banks ranking points. Alexander Zverev banks ranking points. Tournament by tournament, the gap that Alcaraz spent years building, the gap that once looked almost unassailable, is closing. Fast. Sinner has now strung together the kind of consistent, injury-free stretch that turns a talented player into an era-defining one. Back-to-back deep runs, a Wimbledon title defense, a resume that keeps growing every single week Alcaraz is absent. Zverev, for his part, has finally broken through at the level everyone always said he was capable of. A Grand Slam title, a surge in confidence, and suddenly, a real case that he belongs in the Big Three conversation that used to be reserved for Alcaraz, Sinner, and Djokovic. And even Djokovic, a name most people assumed was fading from these conversations, has used this window to remind everyone he isn't finished yet. In other words, the throne didn't stay empty. It got occupied, repeatedly, by multiple players, while the man who was supposed to be defending it was nowhere to be seen. That's not just a scheduling inconvenience anymore. That's a career-shifting stretch of the season, quietly slipping away in real time. And it's happening at the exact age when a player's window to dominate is usually widest open. So let's ask the uncomfortable question directly. Why would a team manage the messaging around an injury instead of just being transparent about it? The answer, according to people inside the sport who've watched this play out before, usually comes down to three things: sponsorships, seeding, and fan confidence. Sponsorship deals are often built around image and availability. A vague, optimistic, he's on track narrative protects those relationships far better than an honest, we genuinely don't know when he'll be back, ever could. Seeding matters too. Tournament organizers, broadcasters, and the ATP itself all have an interest in their biggest stars being present and competitive. A cloud of uncertainty around a top player's health creates real logistical headaches. For the schedule, for ticket sales, for the entire promotional machine built around Grand Slam season. And then there's fan confidence, the hardest thing to quantify, but maybe the most important of all. Fans don't like uncertainty. They like clean narratives. Almost back is a story people can hold on to. We don't know is not. None of this means there's some grand conspiracy happening behind closed doors. Nobody is suggesting Alcaraz's team is lying outright. But there is a real difference between managing a recovery and managing a narrative, and the gap between the footage and the statements is exactly what's making fans wonder which one is actually happening here. So what happens now? The US Open is coming, and for Alcaraz, this isn't just another tournament. This is the moment where the story either resolves itself or blows wide open. If he walks out onto Arthur Ashe Stadium moving freely, no guarding, no shortened service motion, no hesitation on those lateral pushes, then every question raised in this video disappears in real time. The footage will speak louder than any statement ever could, and honestly, that would be the best outcome for everyone, fans included. But if that same hesitation shows up under real match pressure, if the grip stays altered, if the serve stays shortened, if he goes down in an early round to an opponent he should beat comfortably, then this stops being a recovery story. It becomes something much bigger, a cautionary tale about how far a body can be pushed before the public finally gets the full picture. And there's a real risk buried inside all of this too. One bad landing on a first-round backhand, one awkward push off that same wrist during a 5-set battle, and this entire season could end in an instant, not with a gradual fade, but with a single moment on court. Meanwhile, Sinner and Zverev haven't been waiting around for Alcaraz to figure this out. They've been building, winning, taking the spotlight he left behind, match by match, tournament by tournament. If Alcaraz can't go all in at Flushing Meadows, the door doesn't just stay open for his rivals. It swings wide. So here's where we land. Is Alcaraz hiding something? Maybe not a secret in the dramatic sense, but maybe a truth he isn't ready to say out loud yet. That this comeback is further away and more complicated than the official story has let on. Either way, the next few weeks won't lie. The scoreboard doesn't do public relations. The body language on court doesn't read from a prepared statement. Whatever the truth actually is, it's about to be impossible to hide. So we want to know what you think. Do you believe Alcaraz is really as close to full fitness as his team is telling us? Or has this recovery been managed more carefully than anyone's willing to admit? Drop your take in the comments below. And subscribe, because when the truth finally shows up on court, we'll be breaking it down here first.